Now next, let's say I'm taking a loan of 30,000. Now loan period. Now loan period, again, I can have a similar bar, but we are testing out different controls within the form section. So here we have something called as a spinner or a spin button. I select this. Now this can only be a vertical spin button, something like this. Here we have this. Now I do not want it to be so big, so let me shrink this to this much. This should be fine enough. And if I right click on it and select form control, here again we have the minimum value and maximum value to define. So minimum value is 0. Okay, now here we'll be defining the loan period in terms of years. So maximum value would be, let's say, 20 years. I will not be giving loan to anyone beyond 20 years. Cell linkage, whatever value, it should come from this tool or this control. It should be visible here. Let's click. Now it appears blank, but if you click here, you see first, and you go down, scroll down, or press the down arrow, nothing happens. The lower limit is set to 0. It will not allow you to set the value beyond 0. The minimum is 0. And let's check on the upper limit. Well, it's stuck at 20. That's what I've defined. Let's say it's a 20-year loan. Or for convenience, for now, let's call it as a 5-year loan for ease of calculations and testing purpose. Now, annual interest rate, again, will have a bar like this, but this time for the purpose of interest rate. So again, under interest, we have the scroll bar. And here we go. Well, in case if I'm not happy with the size, I might just want to adjust the width and the length of this again. Now, if I want to adjust the width, but I don't see the buttons or the plotting dots on the side, I would just expand or increase the height such that those dots are visible and I can resize the control accordingly. The moment the width is adjusted, I'll bring it back to the smaller height that fits within the row. Great, we have the control. Right click on it, click on Format Control. Now the maximum value, we are talking about the interest rate here. So now it totally depends on when and where are you using. Rather, I would say it totally depends on where you're using. Now, if you're going by the federal rates, the language of how the economists talk, then they would generally talk in the form of basis points. 100 basis points makes 1%. So here, for example, I would say minimum value as 0, maximum value, let's say it's 15% is the maximum interest that's most likely chargeable. Okay, so 15% in terms of basis points, it's 1500. That's 1500 basis points. And incremental change, let's say for every click, it increases by 5 basis points. And page change, for every time you click, it's a change of 25 basis points. That means every time you click between the bar and this free area, open area, it will increase or decrease by 25 basis points. But if you click on the left or the right button over here on the edges, it will change by 5 basis points. That's 0.05%. Now I cannot put the percentage over here, and hence we can put it in this form. It does not take decimals either. So let's click on cell link and take this part. Click OK. Now click aside and see. Say it increases by 5% or 5 basis points every time, but I would like to see it in percentage. So we'll wait for some time. We are yet to finish our entire task. Now if I click anywhere in the middle, it increases by 25 points. Let me show you. Now it's 100, that's 1%. Now if I click on this, you see 25 basis points. Well, I want to get rid of that 5 over there. It's just 120. Then I'll just click on this and it's adjusted. Well, you can also drag and drop like this. That works. Now, payment options. Let's say First, let me get the annual interest rate straight. Here, let's call it the annual interest rate at 6%. Now here, when I'm clicking on this, it's a bit inconvenient for me to identify the exact 600 here. So what I would do is, for each increment here, now it's set to 5. Okay, that's 6.1% or 610 basis points. I bring it to 600, that's a perfect 6%. Now payment options, we have a couple of payment options. One is monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, and annual. Well, we can have the radio buttons in place for that same. So let's click, we can click aside and bring the radio button. And here we have this, also known as option button. Now I click here and edit the text. Let's say I call it monthly. I can also add some more controls directly like this, or I might just right click on this such that the control is selected, copy this, paste it here and move it nearby. I can use the keyboard arrows to make it to pull it down. And now let's change this to bi-monthly. Now let's save some time. I would right click on this and control right click on this, hit escape, and we have both the controls selected. All I did was, if I click on this, it will automatically select the button. I don't want that to happen. Rather, I just want to select these two controls. So I need to right click on one of those. When I right click, I get this. You can just click aside within the bar. Now hold down the control and click on this. And we have both the controls selected. Now copy, that's Control C as in Charlie. Click aside. Control V as in Victor. Now just move this up so that it's in order. So this time, click aside and right click, edit text. So instead of monthly, bi-monthly, this time I need quarterly. And then right click, edit text, half yearly. And then I need an annual one. So I'll again right click, copy, paste, and just edit the text here as annual. Now the best part is all of them, Excel is smart enough to ensure that to understand that all of them are interlinked. Now I click on this, you see the rest of them are unchecked. So now I need to show the value somewhere over here. I need to know which option is selected. Just as we have whatever selections made, they are reflecting here. Here, I need to know what selections are being made. So I'll right click on any one of those. Click on Format Control, Cell Link, click here. And by default, it's set to unchecked. Well, in case if you want it checked, you can leave it checked as well, but I would prefer to leave it unchecked. Click OK. Click aside and you see. Now, here what you see is not this text over here, that's monthly, bi-monthly, but the position number. So monthly is first, bi-monthly is second, quarterly is third, half-yearly is fourth, and annual fifth. Now based on this position number, I'll need to find out the values. That will do later on when we start with the actual processing of this data. For now, let's have one more form control, and that would be for the state. Now, like I mentioned, that different states have different tax rates, different charges. Let's have a separate worksheet over here. In sheet 2, we need to get this data, that states and charges. I have a huge list. I'm bringing this here. You should be able to find this list in your worksheets. And similarly, I also want this information here, payment option, number of installments per year, which we'll be using. So I have this here as well. You should find them readily available for you. You don't need to hunt for these numbers anywhere or these values. Now coming back to state, I would like to see a drop down here. So we call it as a combo. Here we have the combo box. Now click here and select it. Well, I can move this slightly closer to the border to ensure that it fits within the range, the size of the row. Yes, but if I click aside and click on this drop down button, I see nothing because I need to link it to that data there. So right click, form control, input range. Now here is where we need to link to that data. So input range, here we'll have the list of states. We have it in sheet 2. Click on this cell. Once the cursor is over here, click on sheet 2 and select only the list of states. Okay, now do not select the heading. We don't want the word state to reflect in our drop down. We already know that it's a state.